and never go to a buyer's house or office. And always deal in cash. And get tech smart at getkim.com. If your business is scrambling to close the books on time each month, then you should know these three numbers: 36,000, 25, and 1. To start, 36,000 businesses have already upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle, the #1 cloud financial system. And this year, NetSuite is celebrating their 25th anniversary. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close books in days, and drive down costs. And finally, that #1, because your business is one of a kind. NetSuite offers customized solutions for all your KPIs in one efficient system. It's one source of truth to manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need, all in one place. Right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist, designed to give you consistently excellent performance, absolutely free at netsuite.com/Kim. That's netsuite.com/Kim to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/Kim.
Let Florida Coast Equipment, your local Kubota dealer for parts and service, help keep your equipment running at peak performance. Schedule an appointment with one of their Kubota factory-trained technicians. Or for the DIYers, a well-stocked parts counter and online ordering make maintaining your equipment easy. Don't delay. For Kubota parts, service, sales, and rentals, visit FloridaCoastEQ.com for your nearest location today.
The latest from AccuWeather at the top and bottom of the hour. Only on AM 860, The Answer.
Hey, partly sunny. It'll be a hot one. Thunderstorm or two for the afternoon. The high today, 95. A thunderstorm early this evening. Otherwise, partly cloudy. Low tonight, 79. Cloudy and warm Monday, a thunderstorm. High 94. Shower and a heavy thunderstorm on Tuesday, the high 92. Plan with confidence at AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Steve Williams for AM 860, The Answer.
For everything from questions about cucumbers to homes on cul-de-sacs, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show with Stan DeFreitas, the dad, and James DeFreitas, the son. For the next hour, call in with your questions about gardening, growing your favorite veggies, and growing your profits in real estate. Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFreitas.
And a big good morning to you as we start off another edition of the Mr. Greenthumb Ask Mr. Greenthumb show. We do some gardening, we do some real estate, and everything is great. Brought in some carambolas today because Ken's ear said, hey, I need some. And I also brought an avocado in for my board up because I figured she needed to make some guacamole. And once she tastes how great it is, she's going to be saying, holy moly, guacamole is going to be her favorite thing from now on. But Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. How about yourself?
I am like an old horse I can't kick. Life is good. I'm here. I'm green side up, as you used to say in the old the story of sod. When you get guys that are just not looking and throwing sod, make sure it's green side up. Kind of important. But, I used to do that in the old days. I don't do it anymore. But I do a few sod jobs a year just to humble myself on why I did not want to be in the sod business.
Yeah, when my parents bought a new house,
right,
they decided that they had enough manpower in the family with me and my brother to put our own sod in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that was a chore, and that was probably enough for you to decide to go into broadcasting.
It was enough to me to decide to go anywhere else. But landscaping, deliver papers, whatever you want.
Landscaping's tough, too. You will find muscles that you never knew you had when you start jumping on a shovel, and I'm not doing much of that anymore either. But I used to do a lot of landscaping, or I did a little landscaping.
We were replacing a tree. I swear we put 3 trees in the front of that house when we bought it, and they would all die.
Well, had to be a reason.
We found out what it was.
What was it?
The contractors threw a bunch of paint cans and then covered the dirt with the dirt, and that was it.
They called it builder surprise. Not uncommon, especially in the old days, for builders. They'd have a lot of drywall and rubble and paint cans and whatever, And they start getting, well, it costs a lot to take another run to the dump. Why don't we just kind of bury this and no one's going to know? And as you found out with your trees, sometimes I've done that. When a tree should grow and you don't find a pathogen, you don't find something on the foliage or on the trunks, and there's enough of that goes around. We looked at some palms the other day, and I think they have some Texas Phoenix decline because it's the middle row that's going funky. And we also looked at some hollies the other day, and I think they have a fungal problem, probably one of the diplodias. And you can look at things and just see some things, but when you see burn on the root, it'll usually be like the tips of the leaf start turning brown and they start working their way back. And usually it's some kind of a root problem. And the worst root problem, of course, is if somebody buried
Paint.
and stuff, because it's going to be toxic to the roots. The roots can't really, get all the good nourishment that they want.
I think it was the greenhouse who finally figured it out because we were complaining about their trees dying.
Sure.
Like 3 or 4 of them.
They probably said, hey, let's take a shovel and dig down here. And
Yeah, I
see
think
what
they
we
finally
have.
found it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they don't like replacing stuff over again. And if you're in doubt, the nursery's kind of on a hook for a while. Now, you can't go back 10 years later and go, hey, I'd like this tree covered, because they're going to say who, what, when, and where. But if you do it immediately, but it is good to find out why the tree died. And I sometimes look at myself as sort of the, detective Clouseau. I've got to go out there and figure out, is it an insect? And now insects are easy: spider mites, aphids, scales, mealybugs, cottony cushion scale, spider mite. Other than that, as I always say, it's trouble-free here. But we get into fungus problems. Fungi is a whole scale. I mean, we all like fungi when you get those little button mushrooms on your pizza, but there's a whole group of mushrooms that can be a sign of a problem. If I see a half a shelf mushroom coming out of the side of a palm, it's called Ganoderma, or one of the Ganodermas, and it will almost always kill that palm within a year. Now, take that same kind of mushroom, stick it on an oak tree, like a live oak, and it may live with it for 25 or 30 years. It's just the difference in the bark. The bark on the oak is strong and hard, so it's really hard for that fungus to grow into the inner wood. Now, it will eventually, but it takes a long time. With a palm, if you cut a palm straight across, it looks like a bunch of vascular bundles, a bunch of straws. And
Much more porous, obviously.
yes. And we might say, I'm live today. I'm not always live. Sometimes we record some shows. James and I usually record a couple. And then I do a live show. So today is the August the 27th, Sunday. And if you have a question out there and you want to give us a call, we want to hear from you. And that means, what, 1-877-969-8600. Or you can call, if you're local here in the Tampa Bay, 813-289-1860. And you're listening to 860, so 1-860-813-289-1860. We'll put you on the air, and I will answer your question.
I got a question for you.
Sure, well, it's your question.
Speaking of mushrooms and things like that, I was out in the backyard last night watching NASA launch SpaceX.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I wanted to see that.
Yeah, it was crystal clear. I got a nice view.
Oh, lucky
But I
you.
also saw some big white mushrooms in my backyard.
Well,
Are they dangerous to my dog? That's what I'm wondering about.
I'd probably go out and pick them up and take them out. And because dogs, you never know with a dog. Dog might go, oh, that looks maybe yummy. And some of them can be toxic. I mean, when I worked for the Extension Service many moons ago, when I was an extension horticulturist, I would have people bringing in mushrooms. And they'd often go, in the old country where I'm from, we know this is good mushroom. And I go, well, maybe. But, some mushrooms can look pretty good, and others, the deadly amanitas, will kill you. And it won't just be death, it'll be a 3 or 4 day death, and they can't do anything for you once it destroys your liver and kidneys. The odds are you're not getting on the transplant list that quick. So that's not good. So I always tell folks, I'm not going to recommend you to eat a mushroom unless you know where it came from. And if you're growing,
Unless it came from Publix.
yeah, if it came from Publix, Winn-Dixie, wherever, if whichever one of those stores would like to sponsor the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show, then I will say yes, your place. Actually, I went to some of the Publix one time. I said, God, I've been going to Publix since I was a little kid, and how about doing some advertising with me? And they said, no. The guy over in Lakeland goes, we don't want people to really think about growing their own stuff. And I said,
Guts and Nor profits. That's
and
right.
I said, but really, once they do it, they're still going to come by as much as they did from you, because you're only going to grow so much unless they grow the whole yard out. One little box here or there that they make isn't going to be enough to sustain the family. But the guy was like, nope, 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 and nope. I said, but you'll come up with some other stupid ad that I think is just totally stupid, and that's good. Well, we pay millions of dollars to have stupid people tell us about how to make a stupid ad. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Well, after you, I know this personally with beans, especially in corn. Oh my gosh, sweet corn. If you get that right off the stalk, you're never going to have a better tasting ear of corn.
Well, I say the same thing with tomatoes and cucumbers, and you're right about the corn. Corn down here can be a bit of a problem. We get into a lot of insect damage on them. And, if you want to try to stay organic, corn can be a bit tough in Florida. But
it's not going to taste the same as a corn cob from the store, is what I'm saying.
No,
you're going to have a delay there, and you're going to lose some taste. So I can see why they wouldn't want people growing a lot of stuff in their backyard.
Yeah. And you don't see too many people growing too much corn down here in Florida.
That's
anyway,
true.
Not that we can't grow corn. It grows okay, but
It takes a lot of water.
Takes a lot of water, and it takes a better soil. We have a sand, so unless you're really going to amend your soil, you're probably going to have a problem. But we do grow one heck of a good tomato. We grow, as I said, I brought an avocado in today. I brought some carambolas in today. I grow bananas. My wife jokes with me that I would have the whole yard, every inch of it covered with something, and she might be right. I'd probably have, I like the idea of eating stuff out of my own little Garden of Eden. And so we, I grow a lot of stuff, but I enjoy it.
Set up a little produce shack out in front of the house.
Yeah, my neighbor has a sign up next door that it's cheaper than therapy. And I think for him, sometimes he gets out there and he pounds on the ground. And he does a good job, too. My neighbor John he's a good grower. We used to have kind of a competition before I put my fence up just so that I liked having a privacy fence. But then I kind of missed the competition we had, because he'd put up a trellis, and then I'd put up a little taller trellis, and then he'd put up a taller trellis. And so we had this kind of running joke going on, eventually we had like 8-foot trellises for our tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that.
Well, that should have given you some privacy.
Well, yeah. No, I enjoyed that. I've raised grapes before. I had some nice grapes, but they were, I had my house tented many years ago, and the grapes were too close to the tent, and they got killed. But I knew that could happen. I should have dug them out, but it's a chore.
I thought grapes grow best in cooler.
Well, they grow
areas.
They grow fine here. They
Yeah.
just get into some fungus problems. They probably wine growing grapes probably like it better in California and maybe upper New York State. But we can grow them. I liked growing them. In fact, at the time, I used to make my own wine. So my goal was going to be to grow my own grapes and make my own wine. Don't do really that anymore, but I used to. I loved, my wife loved it that the house smelled like, dirty socks. But anyway, we can talk more about that story, too. If you want to give us a call, the number is 813-289-1860. If you've got a plant question, how about a real estate question? How about an auctioneering question? We're still doing that as well. We can help you here on the Ask Mr. Greenthumb Gardening and Real Estate Show. James is off, but I am here. So give me a jingle, and we'll answer those questions for you. Don't change that dial, and you stay with us.
Interested in? Reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.
Why
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside, in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity, and get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
Are you considering a unique way to enhance your investment knowledge this year? Then sign up today for the all-inclusive Eagle Financial Publications Cruise. Along with our trusted partner, The Money Show, we're setting sail this December to explore some of the most beautiful and unspoiled destinations in the Caribbean. But this is no ordinary vacation. It's a chance to learn from top Eagle financial experts like best-selling authors George Gilder, Mark Skousen, and others who will be hosting a series of workshops and seminars throughout the trip. Imagine lounging on the sun deck while discussing investment strategies with like-minded individuals, or enjoying a gourmet dinner at the same table with one of our leading financial authorities. This once-in-a-lifetime cruise is a perfect way to combine education and relaxation to achieve your investment goals. This cruise will sell out quickly, so visit EagleFinancialCruise.com today to learn more and to secure your cabin. That's EagleFinancialCruise.com. Eagle Financial is a division of Salem Media Group.
More than 80 million Americans count on AM radio stations like this one for news, important weather updates, and the opportunity to discuss and debate important issues facing our country. But some people want to remove AM radio from new cars being manufactured, and we can't let that happen. The Senate Commerce Committee has approved the AM radio for every vehicle, Senate Bill 1669, and moved it on for a vote in the full Senate. It also faces action in the U.S. House. Your U.S. Senator and your representative in Congress are in your home state during the annual congressional recess this August. When you see your senator or congressman visiting your community, please tell them you want their support to keep AM radio strong, vibrant, and available to you in your car. This is your opportunity to stand up and be heard, or just text AM to 52886. That's AM to 52886 to tell Congress to support AM radio.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFridas.
And we're with you. James is, of course, off on a much-needed sabbatical. I'll say that. Also, he's always helping me do reports and things. We do a lot of work in the field of eminent domain. And what is the eminent domain field? It's when people come through and take your road, they widen a road, put a school in, police building, whatever it might be. You get a drink of water. And the government has the legal right to take your property. It's in the Constitution. But they have to compensate you as if you've never been injured. So that's where I usually get involved, because usually the attorneys for the other side will usually go, well, we could go to, Home Depot or Lowe's, and we could buy this tree for, $40 for an inch tree. I said, yeah, but we're talking, a tree that's got a, 30-inch trunk, and it's got a 60-foot canopy. So how can that be the same? And, it'd be like saying, I'll give you that little pine tree thing that smells good on your inside of your car, and it's almost the same thing as getting a car. Well, maybe not. But that to me is about as ridiculous as an attorney coming up and saying, we think a $45 tree is equal to an $8,000 tree. So if you want to take the trees, then, then pay the money or move your road. The people should not be impacted. They should be paid fair market value on their property. And properties have gone up, as you all know. I mean, it's one of the problems politicians talk about is how do we get young people into a home today? And it's government says one thing and then it's doing another. As we raise interest rates to curb inflation, you also make it harder for that first-time buyer to get into a home, because how do they do it when their buying dollar keeps going down? So I don't know. I mean, the politicians all say we're going to do something, and yet year after year, season after season, I don't see anything really being done to help that first person. I mean, there are a few little programs out there, but most people never qualify, so it doesn't really seem to do that much.
Part of the problem is rents are now so high, you can't save any money while you're renting.
Well, that's true, and rents stay. And if the renter, if the property tax is up more and their insurance is more.
Yeah.
I know my insurance guy, they said, well, we're leaving the state. Bye. And I said, yeah, but I've had a policy for like 47 years. Yeah, we know.
We don't care.
We're going. And maybe you can get into that state thing for 3 times more.
We're all going to be in there at some point.
I thought, well, yeah, eventually there won't be any local insurer. I mean, at least the old days, and I used to love the companies that go, bundle your property, your car, your home, and everything. So I did that. And then, of course, they'd come back and they'd go, oh, by the way, yeah, we're State Farm, we're leaving. And I'd go, well, then you can't keep my car insurance. If you don't want to keep my house, then you don't get to have the whole caboodle, And they go, yeah, but we're still leaving. We don't want to lose money. Well, where are you going to go insure more? We're going to go to California, where they only have a hurricane. Well, guess we do have hurricanes and mudslides and earthquakes and
fires. Everything's on fire out there usually.
Other than that, the state's like totally free of problems. So I jest, but it does kind of hack me off that we are all kind of, being led down the primrose path, and good luck.
The price you pay for living in sunshine.
I reckon we do, and of course, as we get more people, and then you need to have more infrastructure. You need more roads, and you need more overpasses and
property taxes are just starting to go up in Florida now.
Yeah.
You guys ain't seen nothing yet. I came from a state where they started like this as well.
But that's the reason everybody came from somewhere else, because they didn't want to be taxed over the moon.
But somebody's got to pay for roads. Somebody's got to pay for these schools.
Well,
and it's got to be us. It's the only way it works. How else does it work?
Well, I thought it was funny. The junior high I went to opened up in late 1960s, and they closed it a few years ago because it was an old school. And I thought, the brick school that I went to that they built back in the 20s for grammar school is still there. The brick school still stayed. But it was made by some of them, I think some WPA workers that helped put it together, and they made real good quality. The junior high they slapped up, I think, was full of asbestos, and they decided that it was easier to just tear it down.
No, somebody's got to pay for all that.
I guess, yeah, bad decisions you guys are going to pay. But
where I came from, they built a brand new high school, and 8 years later, shut it down.
Well, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you wonder who's running the asylum.
They built it on projections of population increase that never arrived.
Well,
they're trying to get ahead of the game.
They needed to play more Frank Sinatra music. No. Or whoever. But, and populations can go up and down. I mean, I saw Elon the other day talking about, too much. We don't have enough people being, reproduced in this country. And I thought, years ago, they were talking about we've got too many people. We need to figure out how to cut back, kind of like China did, one child thing. So, I see now India has the largest population in the world.
Oh, have they moved into number one now?
Yeah, they're number one.
Oh, okay.
And I see that they're building more stuff and more plants there. At least it seems like India seems to be more friendly toward us than the communist Chinese government. So maybe we shouldn't have everything built just in China or Taiwan.
Well, China and India have had some skirmishes up in the mountains.
Oh, I'm sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not been... you name a country that has a border, except us and the Canadians. Thank God we and the Canadians have never had a problem that I can remember. Maybe going back to when they were a British
Revolutionary War.
Revolutionary War, maybe back to that time. But other than that, and I guess we have had a few skirmishes with Mexico when we stole Texas. But
and Arizona and most of California. Too,
but other than that,
let's give California back.
Yeah, we could give them. We'll sell it back to Mexico on the cheap. That might be an idea. We can balance our budget, and if they'll take it. But so
yeah.
Anyway, we are here. I would say I noticed out there the Exorers are blooming great around the station. I love those. I always think of our old compadre who planted them and who isn't with us anymore here, but he's out being a great coach and teacher of history, Dale. And I know he was out there planting them, and he would ask me some advice about improving the soil, which he did. And the thing I like about the Exorers, they don't seem to get much insects, much scale, much aphids, and yet they bloom about 10 months a year. The only problem is if we get a really cold period, they're not real cold hardy. So that could be a problem.
Especially the Farmer's Almanac says we're going to have a cold winter down here this year.
Well, I used to love to read the Farmer's Almanac, and sometimes it's accurate. But, so is the Ouija board, and, sometimes I used to read my horoscope all the time, too. I always said, if Janet Scialis said it was going to do this or that, then I thought, gosh, I know she always seemed to know what's going on, and she did a great show. So I'm thinking some of the folks I've worked with over the years, I still maintain contact with some of them. Had a great, we'll go over that the other side of the break, with Jack Harris. We were doing a show one time on Channel 13, and Jack says he called out that the dog Roy Leap had, he called him Scuzz, and it was Scud after a cloud.
Well,
Jack came back around the corner and he goes, I'm fired. And I go, we're not going to fire you. Anyway, stay with us as the plant talk and real estate talk continues here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Did you know that Stan DeFrida's Mr. Green Thumb can come to your house and examine your plants, trees, and palms? His knowledge can help you become the envy of your neighborhood with lush, green, healthy trees that don't just live, but thrive. Palms and oak trees are part of what makes Florida a beautiful place to live, but they get diseases and are often cut down. We offer ways to save your trees. Call or text Stan today at 727-423-4794 or go online to AskMrGreenthumb.com. That's AskMrGreenthumb.com.
AM 860, The Answer. Listen on our website, theanswertampa.com. 3.7 FM. W229DJ Dunedin. By downloading the Answer Tampa app or on TuneIn or Odyssey. Here's the latest from the Answer News Center. AM 860, The Answer. Online at theanswertampa.com. AM 860, The Answer.
Hey, it's the captain here. There are 3 words I want you to keep in mind if you're looking into wound care from diabetes or other problems you might be having with your feet or ankles. Effective, convenient, and caring. I've been going to a lot of doctors, and only advanced podiatry and wound care has helped me. My wound was a tough one, But Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care has the highest state-of-the-art treatments to make your body whole. The doctors are compassionate, best I've ever worked with. They truly have caring hands and hearts. Instead of winding your way through the parking garage, elevators, and miles of corridors of those mega hospitals, and who needs that when you have a hurting foot, Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care makes it easy. Just pull into their parking lot, take a few short steps, and you're there at 38th Avenue near Tyrone Square. Google Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care.com or call them at 727-896-4615. That's 727-896-4615. Most all insurances are accepted.
The stock market doesn't come with instructions, so how can the average investor make above-average returns? Listen to Best Stocks Now with Bill Gunderson. Investors trust Bill with hundreds of millions under management. As president of Gunderson Capital Management, he's been featured on Fox News, Fox Business, The Street, and Market Watch. To boil it down, this guy knows what he's talking about. These days, that's saying something. Best Stocks Now with Bill Gunderson. Weekday afternoons at 3, right here on AM 860 The Answer, and streaming on theanswertampa.com.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb in Real Estate Show. Got questions about perennial flowers? What about issues with closing on your newest property? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now your hosts, Stan and James DeFritas.
And James, of course, is off. This is a live show. This is the 27th of August, a Sunday. So if you want to give me a call, give me a jingle, you can. And that's 1-877-969-8600 or 813-289-1860. And I know some people are, of course, listening to us via Apple. They're listening to us in a number of different ways online. And we appreciate each and every one of you. Just got some more soil samples in from New York City. Had a lady who I did some pH testing for, and, for a slight fee, I will check your pH of your soil. I have a tech that will run it for me, and we can give you something that's fairly accurate. Most of the little meters you look at aren't very accurate. The small little $25 cutesy thing you buy at the nursery, it's cute. It can kind of work for moisture, but they don't work very well for pH. They all seem to give you the same number always. We run a test, and I can give you a much better number. And your pH is important. Remember, pH is 0 to 14, 7 being neutral. Anything below that is acidic, and anything above it is alkaline. Why is that important? Well, if the pH isn't right, it's kind of like your stomach. If your stomach acid isn't right, you're going to have some problems. And I bring that home to you just because we've all had that from time to time. I told you not to eat all those onion rings and Boston beans and scarf down that hot dog. But no, you had to go ahead and do it. And I said, Ken, it's going to cause you trouble.
So what's the plant equivalent of Rolaids?
Well, you can add some dolomite. If you're too acid, and in this case, the soil from up in New York was too acidic. So I did the test. It was down about 5.4. So I recommended 65 pounds of dolomite per 1,000 square feet, which will raise the pH 1 unit. It'll go from 5.4 to about 6.4, and you're just about even. You want it slightly acidic, but not too acidic. If 7's neutral, at 6.4, we're slightly acidic, but we're not real acidic. Now, the sample she sent had a lot of peat in it. And peat, by its very nature, is usually down about 4. It's very acidic, but that's often balanced. And in Florida, we often add a lot of peat because our sandy soil has a lot of shell in it, which is very alkaline. And so the typical pH here might be up 7.5, 7.8. You might be really on the alkaline side. And that's the reason your azaleas and camellias and gardenias often have an iron deficiency, where the vein in the leaf remains green, but the rest of the leaf kind of yellows out more than it should. That's a classic iron deficiency.
So they're kind of sluggish.
Yeah, the plant's not doing well because it's not in the greatest pH. And it'd be kind of like if your stomach pH wasn't right in your intestines, you wouldn't be working correctly. And the same kind of thing is true. There are good bacteria in your intestines always. There's always some bad bacteria in your intestines. Well, now, you're good, kind of keep it in balance, and you're okay. It's when that balance gets out or a very bad strain of bacteria gets into you that you go, oh my gosh, now I have, a case of the green apple quick step, or whatever you may want to call it. So anyway, I just make those analogies that there are some similar. There's some good bacteria in our soil. And one of the reasons when we do add some peat moss and some other good organics, we kind of improve our soil. And you almost always have a better garden. You have a better result. And that's one reason I save my banana peels and cut them up and throw them around my avocado tree. And I take my coffee grounds out and I'll put those into my grow boxes because I know it helps. And it's also, in a small way, you feel like you're doing your little tiny bit to recycle stuff into your own yard. And I've always said the solution to pollution is dilution. And that is recycling stuff into your yard is probably better than filling up landfills. And I guarantee your soil needs it. Our soil would do best at about 10% organic matter.
So you just bury it out there?
Yeah, I either bury it. I sometimes take a shovel and make little holes out there around the bananas, just seem to eat it up. You can see the bananas going, thank you, as I bury some coffee grounds and some banana peels and eggshells and anything else that's, potato peelings, cucumber peelings, whatever I may have, carrots. Yeah, you can just kind of dig it into the ground. You'll be surprised. Eventually, you'll start to see some little earthworms because the earthworms need about 10% organic matter for them to be happy. If it's too much just sand, there's not anything for them to eat. The earthworms go, we need to keep looking because this sand isn't much. And I know at Sun City Center, you've got your share of sand.
Nothing but.
Yeah, nothing but. So if you have an area where you really want to improve that one plant, I mean, I did that with my avocado. I had an avocado that I planted, and it just didn't feel right. The poor thing died. And this was like, 15 years ago. And then I turned around, I replanted my avocado, and I really improved the soil. I added, Michigan peat and Canadian peat and, all kind of good organic matter. And then that avocado now is probably 35 feet tall.
Amazing.
So I said, I practiced what I preached. I really improved the soil, and I got rewarded with great results.
In this case, garbage in is good.
Garbage in is good. Sometimes you say garbage in, garbage out, but sometimes garbage can be recycled into your own yard, and your yard says thank you.
How long would an application last? So you threw a bunch of stuff in there.
Well, it's going to be broken down. It's not going to last. It's going to do what it does, which is everything is broken down into smaller size, and that's where the bacteria can eat upon it. The earthworms eat upon it, and it becomes more bioavailable to your plant.
So when the tomatoes start looking bad, it's time to do it again.
Well, tomatoes, can get into fungal problems. I had a tomato that it came up as a volunteer, and I thought really wrong season for it. It's pretty hot right now, but fungus can be one of your big problems. Cherry tomatoes will still bloom during the summertime, but it's almost, I hate to say we're almost getting really ready for the fall feel as we go into our hurricane time. Might touch on that just a bit too. Bring in those chairs, bring in those things around your yard that could become missiles. Now I know we're only for category 1, but if it does intensify, you're good. And if you don't, you may have a problem. And in fact, if you're not sure, some years ago I had more chairs than I knew where to drag them to. I just put them into the pool.
Good idea.
Because I thought, well, they're not going anywhere unless all the pool water gets blown out. And and then I just got to dig them out, which I did. It gave me a good excuse to get in the pool. I need to be using my pool more than I am. But it's just hard for me. I can't wear anything to kind of pull my foot up like I normally do. So I wear this thing, and then I really have to worry about my walking if I don't have this, contraption around my ankle that kind of helps pull my foot.
Well, get James over there.
Yeah, he's great. Now, a lot of times he is half my legs and half my brain these days. We're out doing injections. I'm normally sitting in a chair or sitting in the car, and I'm pointing. And God bless James. He's out there, sweating and putting in the injectors into trees. If you look at your trees and you see some sap, you see some borers, you see some cracking bark sloughing off, you've got a problem. And you can either, put your head in the ground and be an ostrich, or you can get proactive and try to save them. And I believe that we need to come from time to time to retreat, because boars have a nasty habit of coming back. I'd make almost the same analogy with cancer. Cancer has a nasty habit of sometimes coming back. So make sure they get everything they can, but be proactive, keep watching. And if it does show its nasty head, get proactive and try to get the oncology team to work on it early. Don't wait till something really kind of spreads all over. And
what's that number? You gave a lot of numbers there when you were talking about the soil and all that, and I think somebody would probably say, "Why don't we just bring Stan out?"
Yeah, well, you can do that. You can give me a call. My cell number is 727-423-4794. That's 727-423-4794. And I do go out and make home calls. I usually bring James with me. They say he's my legs.
So you're sitting in the air conditioning. James is out there actually shooting up the tree.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's good. At least you're comfortable.
Well, somebody's got to be.
It reminds me that what are the Wild World of Animals or something that used to be on ABC. Jim was always out there wrestling the alligator while the host was back in the studio somewhere.
Yeah, that's
while Jim wrestles the alligator, I'll be back here having a delightful dinner. You're right there, Stan. My goodness.
I'm having a little bit of a cough. I seem to get that from time to time. Hate to do that on radio.
Did he come in there and slap you on the back or something?
Yeah, you could.
Hey, I don't think you're ever supposed to do that, actually.
No, probably not. Not unless the guy's choking. But sometimes I get that feeling like I'm choking.
Oh, well, it's not good. I'll talk to Doc. I'll be talking to a doctor next hour. So.
Yeah, I love the doc. I called him years ago when I was having problems, and he said, "You've got congenital heart failure." And he said, "You need to go see, come see me or come see one of your doctors." And I did. And I went to the Tampa General, and Dr. Kumar told me, he says, "Your heart isn't doing anything."
Here, yeah.
Yeah. He had his Indian accent, which he does, and I love Dr. Kumar, and I love the staff at Tampa General. Give them a free plug. All the nurses over there were just really great folks. I enjoyed them. They were friendly, especially when you were on the IC, intensive care unit. They were just super. They were friendly, and you're going through a bad time at the time until I had my new heart put in, and I joke with my son, my heart is 20 years younger than his. And I told my wife I had a female heart put in, so I wanted half of her wardrobe. Cha-ching. But, she, I guess we've been together for 47 years now.
47 years.
So it's been a while.
Wow.
Yeah, she should probably get a big medal for putting up with me for all these years, but we'll have to work on that. I did take her to England, Ireland, and Scotland just recently, so have tried to do right by her most of the time, and we enjoyed.
Is she from Irish descent or anything?
Well,
like that?
she is kind of, and so am I. Actually, my name's DeFreitas, but which is Portuguese, but my dad used to kid with my mom. My grandfather on my mom's side came here as a young boy from England. So actually, genetically, I'm more English and Scottish than I am Portuguese, but not that I'm ashamed of my Portuguese side either. But he used to go, well, the English are the upstarts. We Portuguese have been here for 4 generations. And so they would have their little battle. I remember that some when I was a youngster. Anyway, you stay with us as the plant talk and real estate talk continues. I get my voice back. If you want to give me a call, 813-289-1860. We're kind of getting near the last part of the show, so you're going to have to hit your speed dialer. But if you've got a question pertaining to plants, real estate, we're here. Stay with us as the plant talk continues right here on AM 860, The Answer.
Want to talk real estate? Call James DeFreitas at 727-254-7127 or go online, aflre.com.
Why choose Stafford Tree Service? Is it because they're experienced, have the latest equipment, and friendly professional personnel? Absolutely. Stafford's positioned themselves as a leading tree trimming company in all of Tampa Bay. With honest professionals and competitive pricing, they'll earn your trust too. In business for over 15 years, Stafford Tree Service is licensed, bonded, and insured to provide you the very best tree trimming experience. Call today, 727-546-8786, 727-546-8786. On the web at staffordtreesvc.com.
Biophilia, our innate attraction to other living things. It's why people love plants. And around Tampa Bay, Plants, that's Plantz, is bringing nature inside in workspaces and homes by delivering beautiful foliage plants. Our plants increase oxygen and filter out pollutants, reducing stress and improving productivity. And get you in touch with your biophilic side. Go to plantz.us.
This is an important notice to consumers facing $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or other unsecured debt. You may not be required to pay it all back because there are special programs now in effect that will significantly reduce the amount you will owe if you qualify. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. These programs, which the credit card companies like to keep secret, exist to aid American consumers struggling with overwhelming credit card debt by offering tremendous savings and real debt relief. Accredited Debt Relief has established a special hotline for you to call and learn what savings you qualify for. They've helped qualify consumers with over $1 billion in debt and are A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau. So don't wait. Get the relief you need during these hard economic times. For this free information, call the Accredited Debt Relief Hotline now. Call 800-950-0099. 800-950-0099. That's 800-950-0099.
Welcome back to the Ask Mr. Greenthumb and Real Estate Show. Connect online at AskMrGreenthumb.com. Got questions about gardening, real estate, or both? Locally, call 813-289-1860. Toll free at 877-969-8600. And now, your hosts, Stan and James DeFridas.
And James, of course, is off, but I am here. And if you have a question in the next 10 minutes, give us a jingle, 813-289-1860. I was just looking at Bird of Paradise. One of my favorite flowering plants. Has a beautiful flower, has that orange and blue, and it is one that does like a lot of organics. So if you add some extra fish emulsion to it, you add some extra organics, it normally will do well with that. Hibiscus, another one of my favorites. They do get a little long and leggy. You may want to trim them back as they get a little too tall. Normally wouldn't trim them back more than about a third. Because they will go back into a vegetative growth cycle. Most plants have that. Someone called me a week ago and said, I'm trimming my plant all the time and I'm not getting any blooms. Well, if you're always trimming, you're always putting the plant into a vegetative growth cycle. So it's hard for the plant to get into its flowering reproductive cycle. So try to plant something where you don't have to keep it trimmed all the time. Bougainvillea, beautiful plant. But make sure you give it the room it needs. And remember, kind of like a cat, it's probably going to reach out and scratch you from time to time. I do enjoy driving around Tampa Bay sometimes. I can look at where I've planted oak trees, in some cases 40 years ago. And now those trees are big and mature and hard to believe that I planted them that long ago. But I know I planted one time for Jack and Carol Coombs. Used to work with Carol at the County Extension Service, and Jack worked with the gas plant people doing, I'm not sure exactly what Jack did. He was a gas man, but he was a great guy. Loved Jack. He was just, I think he's passed now, but he was just a super friendly jokester that everybody loved. And Carol was kind of the same way. But I also know I planted some trees one time for the rinks down in St. Pete, right near where I lived in 35th in northeast St. Pete. And that tree, last time I saw, I think is still there. Live oak. Nice thing about live oaks, they can live for centuries. And that's not something you get, So as I drive around Tampa Bay sometimes, I'll look at stuff that I planted in Tampa or planted here and there back when I did more landscaping. and enjoyed it. I used to won an award one time on St. Pete Beach for doing a little landscape project. And I think at the time I had my old buddy, Buddy Miller, who was a great young man who unfortunately liked drinking way too much and died way too early. But Buddy was a guy that everybody liked and loved because he was just Mr. Friendly. And looks like we've got somebody on line one. I'm not sure who, but we'll find out maybe. Line one, my mystery guest. Who do we have? Are they there? Okay, maybe not. We're going to find out. Okay, Kent's maybe still finding out who's on. Richard. All right, Richard, good morning. How are you?
Morning, Stan. How are you?
I'm great. What's going on?
Good to have you live instead of recorded on a Sunday morning. But I had sent you a text last couple weeks about the oak tree in my neighbor's yard, and I was just wondering if you had an opportunity to look at the pictures.
I did, and I tried to get back to you. I've been kind of on the run a lot. It looks like to me like the tree's got some problems. I think your neighbor should probably think about maybe having the tree injected. I think there's some holes in the trunk, if I remember looking at the, I know you sent me some good pictures, and it's right between kind of like your yard and their yard.
Yes.
You do have a legal right, of course, to trim anything that comes onto your side that doesn't really impact the tree. So I wouldn't let the tree grow over my roof too much. It looks like it's got a pretty straight trunk. That's the good news. And it looks like it's still got a pretty good canopy. But when you start to see any holes or sap or bark cracking, and I think if I remember that tree had some, then what I would do is inject it with a pesticide and some nutrients. And, as I say, I'm not super cheap, but I'm a lot cheaper than having trees removed. And we never worry about a tree like that when it's between your house and their house until a hurricane comes through. And
right.
A Category 1 probably won't be a problem, but, Category 2 or 3 and the wind's coming from the wrong direction, and if you get any kind of weakness, that's when it'll show. So I would probably have maybe Stafford take a look at it also. For structure, I say I'm a certified arborist that never carries a chainsaw. Sometimes I recommend my buddy in South St. Pete, Utsi. But normally, I have to recommend my sponsor, which is Stafford, and they do a great job. I gotta love Kelly and her crew and her brother. They do a great job. Maybe go by and have them take a risk assessment of your tree. Obviously, if I come out, then, I have to charge. But they're into the business of, maybe removing some of those branches that are potentially a problem. And often I like a tree to be thinned out a little bit sometimes so the air can get through it better. They've done some research and proved that if the air can go through the tree, you don't have that parachute problem. When you've got a canopy that gets so thick that air can't get through it very well, then it becomes like a parachute and you can feel it can move the tree more.
Right.
So sometimes thinning out, especially any dead wood that's crossing, any wood where it's like wood is going across each other, where they kind of graft into each other, that should be removed. If you got too many branches coming from the same spot, you should pick one and get rid of the others. So most people need to do some cosmetic pruning, but also maybe some health pruning. And I sell health pruning, just getting rid of anything that looks suspicious. If it's got knot holes or it has little tiny BB holes, which are borers, it needs to be removed.
Okay.
So I think overall that tree is probably okay, but I think you might want to have somebody check it even closer since we're getting into hurricane season.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay. Glad I got back to you, or you got to me, Richard. Thanks for calling. I meant to get back to you more, but I know I'd call and you'd be out, and then I've been on the road a lot.
Yep.
So
that's okay. We got it worked out.
We got it done. Thanks, bud. See ya.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks
Bye.
for the call. And if you want to give me a call, and I normally try to get back to everybody right away, and I did call Richard back, but I will also call you back. Mary, John, Bill, Jane, whoever you may be, give us a jingle and we'll try to answer your question. Someone said, can I start to plant seeds now for, the next big season for growing veggies? And yes, you could. I would say if you plant things out right now, one of my problems is if we do get a hurricane, even with Category 1, little tiny seedlings don't do well. So you might want to dig those back up if the storm comes through, like it might, and put them in your garage or somewhere where you can protect them from the wind, because even a 50 or 60 mile an hour wind will take a little seedling and just cause it havoc. So remember that. Remember to bring in your plants in containers. I know when I was on vacation, didn't get everything watered as well as I should have. I should have put most of my stuff down to where it could have been watered by the sprinkler system. I left some stuff on the deck, and I'm afraid I've lost a few plants to, bad planning. So if you're not, you're going to be gone, sometimes bringing stuff to an area where the irrigation system will hit it, you'll be in better shape than if you just try to hope and water it well before you leave. We were gone for about 3 weeks, and that was just too long to expect my neighbors to stay on top of watering as much as I do. And often, even there again, I often have my green plastic watering can, and I'm carrying stuff to some of the plants that don't quite get the water they should. Even though you've got a system that covers pretty good, there's always some areas that don't get water, even when things are fairly evenly laid out. And sometimes we've turned off a few heads where we had too much water in a spot as well. Anyway, take time to smell the roses. Go out and enjoy your plants. Look at your trees. Maybe take some pictures of those trees. Take a picture of your property, too. When a hurricane's coming through, if you do have a problem, and I hope you don't, I pray you don't, do some documentation of what you have. If that branch hits the roof, go out and take a picture of it so you can prove to the insurance company, what has occurred. Yeah, I know they don't like to pay off. They like to just take your premiums and tell you, forget about it. But, if something does occur, that's the reason you have insurance and the reason you're entitled to put a claim in. But you need to kind of document stuff, what happened where. And, if you've got spots inside, you've got drywall problems, something's leaked, you need to keep a record of it so that you can turn your claim in. Anyway, go out and smell the roses. Hopefully we don't get hit too hard between the next time that we talk. Take a survey of what you have in your yard. Look at those plants. Maybe plan another bed. If you're having real estate questions, give us a call. Give me a call if you want, 727-423-4794. As Teddy used to say, live it up.
Interested in having a home consult? Remember, you can reach Stan at 727-423-4794 or on the web at AskMrGreenthumb.com.